in the depths of the Depression for EBRPD to be able to afford to move in on the 483 acres and WW funding and so forth, it was a lifesaver. So, and thanks to Bob.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, you should be enthusiastic. It's a pleasure to be here today, and although Linus was nice to introduce me as East Bay Regional Park District General Manager, the more important thing is I am the husband of Tina Batt, who was the founder of the Land Trust. And she hasn't left me yet. She's back east with her mom at her 90th birthday, her mom's 90th birthday party. So she begs your pardon for not being here today. These are interesting times, and what I really want to do is call out a few people. I would like to recognize the elected officials from our cities around here, because elected officials have to be 10 places at once. And they make decisions on every weekend whether they spend any time with their family or whether they spend time doing what they're supposed to do to represent their communities and get reelected. And I can't tell you what it means to public agencies and nonprofits to have the elected show up knowing how busy they are. This land trust has had a long legacy of really strong local elected leadership support. And I think that's really critical. And I think it's really also important, and Linus, I don't want to get you in any trouble.
Already there, Bob.
Okay, good. And if you're in trouble, you're doing a good job. I'd like the Land Trust board members to stand up and be recognized. Just stand up once, because you didn't stand up when you got named. So please stand up. The staff does a great job. They work hard every day. They try to figure out how to put all the pieces together, including stretching the dollars. But the boards are really the thing that are the glue behind the staff that says they're cheerleaders, they're drivers, they're connected to the community, they're business connections, and that's all really, really important. So another great thing about the Land Trust is that they've always had a very engaged, very dedicated board who gets paid with fresh air and sweat and hikes. So, and sometimes hay fever. So that's really important. A little bit on the history here. When I first started courting Tina Batt, it was on some of the Land Trust properties, and it was always, how are we going to get the money? It's impossible. A little land trust, a little engine that could. How are we going to get the money for $1 million, and then $2 million, and then more millions of dollars, and then $5 million? And part of that was to tell the story of people like the Fernandez family, the Dutra family, local people who grew up on these properties, and tell the story that, most citizens think, oh, these big landowners, they must live in Blackhawk or something like that. The land was something you gave to, and it gave back in sweat equity. It did not give back in gold. And so families that hung in there in our county, our heritage, our pioneers, our agriculture, which is so important. Contra Costa used to be called the Garden of the Gods by the early settlers. It was so fertile. There was so much water. There was so much agriculture. So it's just really, really neat to see these connections. And Tina would always, we'd talk and talk as we're hiking, and I always have to catch up to her and talk about the families and the connection to the land. Because most people think it's, well, you make a deal, you sign a deal, you find the money. It's about people, and it's about people who support the cause and people who want to see their land preserved but be treated fairly and be respected. And this land trust has a great, great legacy of doing that. And I'm so pleased to see that carried out today. We are living in an odd time. We're living in an odd time where science is being disputed, where climate change, it's cold today, so it must not be any climate change going on. But I can't think of a more patriotic thing now than to support the legacy of the United States of America in our conservation of national parks, state parks, local parks, and our history with the land. We don't use the word patriotic hardly anymore. We salute our veterans, we salute our flag, but we don't think of conservation of the first nation in the world to create a national park system. A First Nation, as Linus said so eloquently, to create a concept of conserving and being stewards of the land for future generations. And I think that's really, really patriotic. And I want to respect